There you go, the recording started.
Thanks, Kay. Right, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Weoley Selly Oak online ward meeting. As I said, hopefully we'll be able to get back face to face at some point in the future, but for now, this will have to do. So first of all, I have to give notice of recording, just to let you all know this meeting is being recorded and will be available, I think, on the council YouTube channel for people who want to see it later. Okay. So first up, I want to give apologies first of all. My colleague Councillor Johnson is unavailable this evening due to a family situation. She's unfortunate situation. She hasn't let me know the details, but obviously I'll keep them to myself. But she's unfortunately can't make it this evening. So if we could crack on with the agenda. We've got a bit of a different meeting tonight. We've got a different item to come up first. I think you've had the agenda. You'll be aware of what this item is, but it is the Commonwealth Games Celebrating Communities Fund. So this is the applications that have been made to this project fund, and a chance to hear about those applications. So I'm going to bring in Natalie and Siobhan, if I can, from Age UK, who are administering the process on behalf of the council, on behalf of the Commonwealth Games. So I'm going to bring in Natalie. Do you want to kick off and explain a bit about the projects and or at least the fund, and then we'll go straight into the projects and then people can hear for themselves what's being proposed.
Brilliant. Thank you, Councillor Chatfield. So if it's all right with everyone, we have a very short presentation we're just going to share. So I'll start screen sharing now. If you could all let me know if you can see the presentation okay. And then I'm going to hand over to my colleague, Siobhan. So is that all right for everyone?
Got it?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, I can see it.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Natalie, for that. So thank you everyone for coming along. Obviously, I know you also have your ward meeting, so you may not be here for this specifically, but thank you anyway. It's lovely to see you all. So as Natalie and the councillor have said, we are here to talk about the Celebrating Communities Fund. This is part of the legacy of the Commonwealth Games, which will be held in Birmingham in 2022. And groups from across the city have been invited to apply for this. Oh, sorry, Natalie. Which was on the wrong slide. Lovely. Thank you. So groups can apply for funding to deliver activities in the local area. These activities could be sports related, they could be social activities, they could be cultural events, all those kinds of things. And all 69 wards in the city have been allocated a certain amount of funding in order to they can apply for any such activities. So there is £35,000 which has been made available for Weoley Castle and Selly Oak ward, and the application process has been split into 2 rounds. The current round, the one we're voting on today, opened in spring and closed in June. And then there is another round which is currently open and will be closing in November. So if you do want any more information about the applications, or looking to apply or open any more applications, you can request that information today, and we will be able to give more information about that. Oh, I'm going to go back one, Natalie. Back one. Thank you. So the applications have been split into 3 categories. So there's small grants for between £100 and £1,000, grants of between £1,001 and £5,000, and then the biggest category is between £5,001 and £10,000 for slightly larger activities, and each one of those can be voted on. Thank you. So today we don't have anyone in the smallest category. We have had 2 applications from category 2. However, I do not believe that either of those have submitted the written application process or are here today. So they will most likely be deferred to the second round of voting.
We've got an armed forces day. I'm here for that.
Oh, hello.
Hello.
Brilliant. Lovely to have you here. So the Armed Forces Day, we'll be going ahead with the vote for them. Fantastic. Fantastic. If the other person is here as well, please do wave. So then in category 3, so we'll have 1 in category 2, and we vote for them separately. So in category 3, we have the Friends of Selly Oak Park to vote on as well. So each applicant will have 5 minutes to present their idea, what it's for and what it's about, and then all their proposals. And then we will have time for questions, any questions about the project itself and the activity itself.
I don't actually live in the ward, so I can't vote.
That is true.
They can just...
Yes, if you are not a resident of the ward, you won't be able to vote, but we'll go into that in a minute. When we are finished with the questions, we will ask the applicants to leave the meeting so that they are not here for the voting process. Applicants, in the time before voting, we will allow anyone to ask questions about the voting process. However, the applicants cannot ask questions in that time. This is to make sure that this is a completely fair and neutral procedure. Anyone who's voting must live in the Weoley Castle and Selly Oak ward. Some of you will definitely know that you do. If you're not sure, we will put a link in the chat to the Find Your Ward process on the Birmingham City Council website if you need to just look it up. And of those who can vote, your voting options are yes, no, or abstain. So in order to have to vote for a project, you must not have any interest in that project. So you cannot be a member, a trustee, or any otherwise related to a presenting group. All right, and then finally, it is not a competitive process. The applicants are not going against each other. The funding is available for all, and we have not reached the upper ceiling of the funds, so there's no reason that anyone presenting cannot all be given funding or not, depending on how the vote goes. That might change in round 2, but it is the case for this particular round. Successful applicants will need to receive more than half of the eligible votes. So that means they need to have more yeses than they have abstentions or noes. Any applicants who were unable to attend today were given the chance to submit a written proposal or a video proposal to be delivered on their behalf. And applicants who are unable to attend but have not submitted that proposal will have their applications deferred to the second round of funding. And that's everything. I believe, Nessie, we were going to start with the Friends of Selly Park, but I'm not sure if that person is here yet.
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, hello. Fantastic. So if you're happy to go ahead, is that all right, Natalie? We're happy to go ahead? Perfect.
Yeah,
okay.
I'm going to try and share my own screen. Let me know if it works.
Fantastic. And you have 5 minutes, Andrew. Is that okay?
Yeah. Can you see that?
Yeah, that's lovely.
Okay, so this project is called Ready Steady Fun in Selly Oak Park. Selly Oak Park is a large park on the edge of the ward over in the Selly Oak district, near Gibbons Road and Sainsbury's. Green Flag Park. The surrounding streets are home to many hospital and university staff, and it's a very diverse area and it's a popular walking route through the park. The project is a 9-month project to make the park games ready, to make it more attractive and welcoming entrances and safer walking routes, and also to rejuvenate the Selly Oak Festival, which I thought should be June 2022, around a sports theme. So the entrances we want to rejuvenate are the Coruscant Road entrance, which is a long alleyway, the Harborne Lane, which is another alleyway, and the area around the Scout Hut car park. So the Coruscant Road alleyway, you can see the borders are sort of non-existent. There's fencing with trees going through it, it's all broken down. We plan to remove the self-seeded trees, replace the fence, plant with medal-themed foliage, a new notice board with safe route advice, and a welcome post carving. And just to give you an idea of the sort of the foliage we have in mind, bulbs, shrubs, trees, this would be a sign similar to this one and a welcome post similar to this one, which we already have in the park. At the Scout Hut car park entrance, again, we've got dilapidated beds that we want to rejuvenate with flowers and planting, and this desire line walkway from the car park into the main park, which we'd like to formalise. Then at Harborne Lane, we can't do much here because there's not much to do in terms of planting, but we would like to clear the undergrowth and put in a new sign, a bit like this one with some safety information on it. So people know the park exists and you can get into it from this way, but also which are the safest lit routes through the park. Selly Oak Festival, as I said, it's run from 2012 to 2019. We had 44 stalls in 2019. We then had to pause the festival for 2 years. We'd like to bring it back rejuvenated with 3 stalls for all local charities and a sports theme with football, rounders, table tennis and athletics. This is basically a list of our volunteer groups that we have already. So they'll all be involved in various aspects of the the developments and events. And also will be involving families in the Fun Day and the Selly Oak Festival and local charities and schools and clubs. Fits with the ward priorities by protecting green spaces, reducing crime, supporting shared community spaces and creating active citizens. And it will be a lasting project because Friends of Selly Oak Park know how to run this kind of thing. All the items we've discussed are in the 5-year plan in terms of improving safety, improving the entrances and so on, enhancing the beds. And then the community engagement plan, which we're still developing, but will include strengthening our volunteer groups. And you have to have activities to have active volunteer groups. And that's me.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. So we will now open to questions from anyone who has any questions about that project. Councillor Chatfield.
I ask a question at my own meeting. I was going to, Andrew, just the wooden sculptures I think are great anyway, and I love the ones you've got already.
Yep.
But will that reflect the Commonwealth Games in some fashion?
Yeah, our current sculptures reflect various aspects of the park. One of them reflects wildlife like this one. The other one reflects the Lapal Canal, which runs through the park. And the plan would be that the third one would have some kind of Commonwealth Games theme.
Okay. John Mole?
It's just to follow on from your question, Councillor. All the bids that have come into the city have already gone through a scrutiny session to make certain that the bids do actually coincide and are actually in alignment with the Commonwealth Games. So every bid does have an element of the Commonwealth Games in there. Otherwise, we've either said no or passed it through for further information.
Thank you. Okay, and Martin? Martin Sullivan? Oh, sorry, you're muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
How will you reduce crime, which is in your list?
Okay, so one of the things we've identified with working with local police and councillors is that we've got a lit route through the park, which is this yellow route here, and an unlit through the park route through the park, which is very popular because it takes you closest to the hospital. It's very popular with people going to the hospital. This is really vulnerable. You can't see it from Gibbons Road at all. So the way we would improve safety through this project would be through the signage, which would be directing people towards the lit route through the park and not the other routes, but also cutting back undergrowth, both at the Coruscant Road entrance and brightening that entrance, and also at this entrance, cutting back the undergrowth will also give people less places in which they can hide in order to pounce on unsuspecting pedestrians.
We'd like that sort of thing in Manor Farm Park.
Brilliant, thank you.
By the ideas.
Are there any other questions? You can either just ask or indicate with the raised hand reaction.
Nothing from me.
Anyone else? Okay, that's perfect. Thank you very much then, Andrew. We will move on to the next presentation, which I believe is the Armed Forces project.
Yes.
If you are ready.
Well, yes and no. I'll just put, I'm here as a last minute because Paul Brown, who submitted the application, is not able to come due to work. So I don't actually have an actual presentation to put on the screen. It's just me putting my pitch over to try and get this funding. But as it is, Armed Forces Day 2022, this year and last year was cancelled. We had a very successful one in 2019, which can be seen on Facebook. We had over 1,000 people turning up. Now, the reason we like to do this is, one, it was cancelled from the city centre, and two, it's really good for bringing the community together. There's a lot of veterans in Weoley Castle and Selly Oak who do attend these kind of events. And also we do have a lot of veterans who are acting in the games themselves. So we're just looking to get the funding. It's ideally just to cover the road closures, it's to cover the fencing, security, pipers. As I said, I mean, I'm here as a last resort, so I don't really have everything with me at the moment. I can do another one for you if you want to put me onto a defer. I can have a proper presentation for you. Sorry.
I'm sorry, continue.
Oh, no, carry on with that, that's fine. Again, it's just like security, DJs, etc. That's what we're looking to get the funding for. So if anyone would like to throw anything at me, please feel free.
Yeah, sorry, just to clarify, you do not have to present a sort of physical presentation, just a verbal description or even a written is absolutely fine. And as long as everybody else feels that they are able to vote, we can do so at this time, or we can defer.
Yeah, well, I like to do a proper presentation. Obviously, I'm the director of a charity, and that's what we do. So that's why I'm giving my apologies now in advance.
Of course. Well, thank you. Does anyone have any questions that would help clarify the Armed Forces project? Anne, please.
Yeah, is there a lasting legacy to this, an ongoing legacy, or is it next year you'll need another bid and another bid, you know, because this seemed to be all for the event on the Armed Forces Day. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I just want to understand, you know, what's the legacy?
Well, the legacy is yes, it is going to. It is going to happen every year, regardless. And also we'll be doing Remembrance Day as well. And this is going to be local. And it's like I said, it's primarily at the local community. We will be bidding again each year for more funding, but we do our own funding as well. So it's going to be a lasting effect. It's going to have an effect on everybody and the well-being in the local communities.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Thank you. Any other questions? You can indicate just by waving or raise your reaction hand. Simon, please.
Yeah, I was just wondering where it's held. Is that at Weoley Castle Square or?
Well, the parade starts at the Weoley Castle Square. Sorry, the roundabout, but they call it the square. It starts there, and the actual parade walks all the way down to the Weoley Castle pub, with the brass band and the pipe bands, and obviously all the festivities. We have stalls, we have activities, we have face paints, we have food, we have rides for children, we have military vehicles, old military vehicles, rifles, etc., to give it a good family fun day event.
Thank you. Any other questions? No? Oh, yep, another one from Simon.
Sorry, I think the only other question is that I take it during this there'll be some sporting activity.
We will have sporting activity, and well, next year we're looking to really go out on it because it's not been open. We've not had it for 2 years. We're actually going to go all out. That's why we're applying for funding, because we want to have lots of activities.
Perfect. Thank you. Any other questions? No? Okay, well, thank you very much, Kenneth, for doing that last minute to cover for the project writer, and we really appreciate that. I understand that the third applicant is not here, is that right?
Who's that? Can you hear me?
Hello?
Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Oh, I'm Laura Benson. I'm representing Dual Voice in Princethorpe.
Okay.
Can you see me? Am I the third applicant? I can't see my face on the screen.
We can't see you. We can hear you very, clearly, but we can't see your camera doesn't. Oh, there we go.
There we go.
Yay, I'm here at last. Okay. Hi, everybody.
Hello.
I'm just going to start, even if we're not successful, what a great opportunity this is. So my name's Laura Benson. I'm the PE lead for Witchell Primary School, which is in Northfield, but we are part of a MAT, Multi-Academy Trust. So we are applying for £5,000, and the name of our event is A Taste of the Commonwealth Games. Come together and get active to bring the community together. It's a one-day multicultural festival of sport, music, food and activities which will bring the games to the community and get people active. Our objectives are to celebrate the Commonwealth Games coming to Birmingham, aligning with current initiatives within the school to promote sports, physical activity, well-being by providing an opportunity to experience all kind of sports. We've linked the old sports and new sports, and especially the sports that will be taking place at the Commonwealth Games, such as boxing, table tennis, bowls. We want to bring the wider community together to celebrate this multicultural and multilingual aspect of the event. I did try contacting Julia Johnson, so you've answered my questions on that one, so thank you. Because so what, why, what's the impact? And when I did a little bit of research, it showed that this ward is well served by many community facilities such as libraries, parks, schools, churches, doctors' surgeries. However, the youth provision within the ward is very limited. Even with the available facilities within reach, access can be restricted due to public transport. So that's the objectives for the ward that I found. A taste of music, a taste of food, a taste of culture, a taste of the fun fair, local police, fire, ambulance, job centre, local businesses, scouts, brownies, local gymnasiums, just to bring the community together so it can be a sustainable impact for the ward. It has been a hard year due to the pandemic, getting people active, healthy in their lives, that sense of community, bringing it back together. We hope that the festival will bring together the families from the schools and also the wider community by highlighting the multicultural aspects of the Commonwealth Games. Diverse activities, sport and culture mean that this event will be suitable for all ages, abilities, disabilities, with the food, steel bands, bringing the music in, face painting, balloons, different types of food. With both schools in the ward, Weoley Castle and Selly Oak, they do fall into the 10% most deprived area. The funding will support the school to bring the community together through sport, signposting to local communities that can continue to support families and young children for years to come. That's our aim, to promote and educate the importance of healthy, active lives and mental well-being. We are a right respecting school, and we continue together to have a lasting, sustainable, positive impact on families and children's lives for the future. I think that is me done, because I will jabber on forever and you'd have to cut me off.
Thank you very much. That was lovely. Thank you. Do we have any questions now about the school's application?
Nothing from me.
Thank you. Anne, please.
Is it going to be held at Gervais School or Gervais School in the ward, or is it being held at Witchell in North, a different ward?
It's not being held at Witchell, no, that's a different ward. That comes under Northfield. This will be held at Princethorpe because it's the larger school.
Right.
It's a short distance, it's 0.2 miles between the schools, so it's easily accessible for both schools walking distance.
Yeah, don't have that. It was just which was it the school over in Northfield that might be part of the same academy, or is it no, our school, the schools in our ward? That was all. So yeah, no, if it's at those schools, that's fine. I don't mind that it's at one, the larger one or whatever. Yeah, that's fine. Thank you.
Lovely, thank you. Simon?
Just a quick one. Has St Mary's been approached to be involved with this, as it's one of our other schools in the ward?
They haven't been. I can make links with St Mary's.
It's just that it covers quite a wide area as well, which obviously falls into the same categories that you've mentioned.
Yeah, they're not.
So-
St Mary's is not part of our MAT, so it's not one of the schools within our MAT. So whether their head has applied for the funding as part of their ward, does that make sense? There's no.
Yeah, I'll get where you're coming from. It's a different school. It's not part of the campaign.
Yeah.
So I just wondered if it had been approached, but it's only a quick one.
Yeah, and if we were successful, we could approach them, make links.
Okay.
Brilliant, thank you. And we have a question from Helen.
Well, I'll just add to that. So Watermill is also in the ward. So I think working partnership between local schools would be great if it's possible.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it makes more of an impact then when we can work together. Definitely.
Would Cherry Oak School want to be involved as well, the special school on Fredericks Road for the education?
Fabulous. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, could be a real collaboration between all the primary schools, couldn't it?
Definitely.
That'd be quite big, but that's all right. Doesn't matter.
Even better. Yeah. Thank you.
Lovely, thank you. And a question from Councillor Chatfield.
It was just following on that point, really. It's just that I'm sure we can supply you with a list of all the primary schools in the ward. I think you've almost covered all of them by name, but I think there's a couple of others left over. So it might be worth just pulling and then just making contact with the schools and letting them know the event's happening. Because I think it was a good idea to engage with all the primary schools. If nothing else, it'll get the numbers up as well. And they all cover a similar kind of demographic, give or take. So I think it'll be really valuable in a way of getting the schools to collaborate a bit as well, which isn't always doesn't always happen in real life.
Yeah, definitely. Good idea.
Brilliant, thank you. And any other questions?
I think Wendy's indicating.
Wendy's got a hand up.
Oh, sorry, Wendy, go ahead.
All right, I was just going to say Watermill might like to be included. I know you were going to provide a list of all the schools in the area, but I think Watermill will be one in the area.
Yeah.
It's all, it sometimes gets overlooked.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. Gosh, wouldn't it be fantastic if I actually got through? It would be huge. Wouldn't it be absolutely huge? And we've just had a new parent start the school who's a sports reporter from Egypt. So I've already got him marked. Fingers crossed, I've got him marked. Advertise it, get us out there. It'd be amazing.
Brilliant, thank you. Is there any other questions for the Taste of Commonwealth Games project? No?
No.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you so much to the three people who have presented and to the three projects. We will now ask the three applicants to leave prior to the voting process. Of course, it is your ward meeting, so you are entirely welcome to come back. It's just for the period of time when we're voting to ensure that the voting can be a fair process.
Okay, I'm signing out.
Thank you very much, Kenneth.
Okay, thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Perfect. Okay, so just as I neglected to do at the beginning, just to explain the role of Age UK in this process, we are just facilitating the vote. We do not have a vote ourselves, and we do not have any connection to any of the projects. So we would, if we can just check before we explain the voting process, how many people are ward members, so live in the ward and are able to vote, meaning they are not connected to the projects. If you could just raise your virtual or your real hand. Thank you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Perfect. Okay, thank you very much.
May I just check something?
Please.
The Friends of Selly Oak Park is rather general, really. So whilst I do litter pick with them, I'm not involved with the project as such, and I'm not on the committee. So would that litter picking is really my only. So
you say you're a participant as opposed to a board member or leader or yeah. No, that is absolutely fine. Yes. Okay, brilliant. Are there any other questions about the voting process or any of the projects so far, and then I'll explain how we will vote.
I just want to understand the funding. You know, is there, how much is available, or are we prioritising the ones we want to put forward, you know, or what?
Okay, so yeah, great question. Thank you. So there is £35,000 available to Weoley Castle and Selly Oak Ward, and at this time the 3 projects have not reached the threshold, so all 3 projects could be funded without it affecting any of the others. So just to really stress, it isn't competitive, so you don't need to withhold a vote for a project in order to vote for another one. You can vote for projects in each category discreetly. So we've only got 2 today, and they're in separate projects, separate categories. So there is no competition between. Oh, sorry, we've got 3. 2 of them are in the same category, aren't they? Okay, so the schools and the armed forces are in the same category. So you vote once in that category. So it's a yes, no, or an abstain vote. Abstain would mean you do not feel you have enough information to make this vote. Okay, is there any, Helen, your hand is up. Is that from the previous?
No, it's just, so I am on the committee for Friends of Selly Oak Park, but I'm not involved with the other projects. So what does that mean in terms of voting?
You can vote, but not for that one.
Okay.
And Simon?
Yeah, I've got this. I'm sort of on the committee. I litter pick. So I take it I can't vote for the Selly Oak Park.
You're not if you're on the committee, no.
Okay.
Is that yeah? So okay.
Yeah, that's answered it. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, and John?
It's just a quickie. I am going to go through a spiel afterwards, but to come back to Anne's question, we've got £35,000 for the ward, but we've got a closing date the 30th of November, so it's pretty tight.
Yes, if people don't get their projects in, you know, we could end up not spending the money.
That would be a tragedy.
Absolutely. That's what I wanted to understand. Are these in competition with each other for a very small pot? Or actually, if we said yes to all of them, have we blown the pot and we've got to say no to one of them or whatever? It was trying to understand where we are. You know, thank you.
Yeah.
That
so,
really...
John, I don't know if there was more information you wanted to add.
You're doing it exactly according to the plan. It's going very well as far as I'm concerned.
Fantastic, thank you. Okay, Neil, go ahead.
Good evening, everybody. I hope you're well. I just wanted to clarify. Good to see you all, and thank you very much indeed that you know, that I've been allowed to kind of come in. I was only in the background just listening to the process. It's been handled fantastically well. I just wanted to add actually to John's point, to say that you are very fortunate in the sense that you have £35,000 allocated to your ward. So even though that you've got 2 proposals within the one category, it's not a competitive vote. So if you felt that both proposals had merit and you wanted to approve both of them, you could actually do that within your funding envelope. It was, you know, it's only in an instance where you don't have enough funding compared to the amount of proposals that you have, that you might want to then make that element competitive, but you do still have the if you like, flexibility within your funding envelope that if both proposals had merit and they had received the appropriate amount of votes, that you could actually approve both of them. So I just wanted to make that point for you if it helps.
Thank you very much, Neil. That's really helpful.
Could I just add quickly, if anyone does know of any other projects or groups that might be interested in applying for funding, the deadline is, there is a deadline in November, but obviously any other applications will be most welcome. So if anyone does have any connections of any other groups, as I said, get the word out there and see if we can get a couple more bids in.
Brilliant. Thank you, Councillor. So I think because some people have reasons they can't vote in each project, I think the best thing to do is I'm just going to say the name of the project, and then I'm going to check one by one who can and can't vote. And once we're clear on who's voting, we can take a yes, a no, and an abstention vote. Is that okay with everybody?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, so if we start with the Friends of Selly Oak Park, Selly Park project.
Selly Oak Park.
Selly, is it? Okay, Selly Oak Park project. Who feels they can vote on that that project? Okay. Wendy, Martin, Steve, Neil, is your hand up to speak?
Please, Siobhan, that's really helpful. I just wanted to clarify that elected representatives for the ward also have one vote as well. So I just wanted to make that clear.
Who knew?
You are allowed to vote, Councillor, yes.
I feel enfranchised. There we go.
I didn't want you to miss out, Councillor Chatfield.
Well, in that case, I'm going to vote as well. There we go.
Okay, so we have 5 potential votes for that project. Is there anybody else who hasn't indicated they can vote? I've got Anne, Wendy, Martin, Steve, and Councillor Chatfield. Okay, so we will take a vote, but it has not reached the minimum required numbers, which means we can't guarantee it being funded, but it will go to an adjudicator after that. We will take the vote regardless, and then the independent adjudicator will decide if that's enough to fund the project. So please raise your hand or make a clear indication if you are voting yes to that project. Okay, seems unnecessary, but for clarity, any no votes and any abstentions? Brilliant, thank you very much. Okay, and now on to the Armed Forces Day project. Who feels they can vote for this one? Martin, Steve, Wendy, Simon, and Helen. Okay, thank you. All right, so we do have the minimum threshold there, so this will be a straightforward. If they get a majority of yeses, they will be funded. If they get a majority of noes, they will not. With abstentions, it may be deferred. I'm not 100% certain about that one. Okay, so can I see yes votes, please? Brilliant, okay, and any no votes? And any abstentions? Lovely, thank you very much. And then finally, the Taste of the Commonwealth Games project. Can you indicate if you can vote in this? And Martin, Steve, Wendy, Simon, and Helen, thank you. Okay, and then can I have yes votes, please? Perfect, and any no votes? And any abstentions? Brilliant, thank you all very much. Those will be taken back to the council, and then the projects will be funded as per your decisions. And that's everything from us, I believe. Thank you very much to all of you for voting and for participating. And they're not here, but when they come back in for the ward meeting, please say thank you to those who presented from us at AGK Birmingham. And we're sorry for kicking them out, but we hope they come back and carry on with your ward meeting.
Can I just say thank you both for doing a brilliant job of dealing with this unruly mob, keeping them in line and going through the process. So thank you very much. That was a really good process.
Thank you. All right, we will leave now and let you get on with your board meeting. If you do have any questions, they can be sent to Natalie, who's your NNS community development worker. Anything relating to the current round of funding, definitely send her way. Okay. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank
Bye
you.
bye.
Before I go.
Thanks.
Thanks, Natalie and Siobhan. All the best.
Hey, if you're still, I think you're still on the line, aren't you? If
Yeah,
you
I'm
could
still here.
try and get Andrew back into the meeting. I think he was
I've
in
just
the
texted Andrew Schofield.
Yeah,
I've just
brilliant.
texted
Thank
him,
you.
so hopefully he'll pick it up.
I'll watch out for him reappearing.
Right. Right, let's move on then. We have got an item that's, I think, item 3 on the agenda was the Commonwealth Games Celebrating Communities Fund, information about the fund. I think we've probably largely covered everything off. Is there anything else, Neil, do you want to add, or John, do you want to add about the process in terms of if anyone else is interested out there, how they can apply?
I think it's a bit of a double act. All.
Are you still there?
Yes, I'm still here. Do you want to carry on, John? Is that okay?
No,
and I'll put the information in the chat. I don't mind.
Yeah. All right. No. I mean, I got a presentation, Councillor, but you guys are ahead of the game now because you're actually authorising some of the bids, which is brilliant. And that puts you definitely at the top of the league when it comes to the city at the moment. There's a few going through, but not a huge amount. So well done. Well done. It's a general reminder that the Commonwealth Games is out there. We've got a closing date now, the 30th of November. So time is tight. Now, to get support, we've got ourselves from the Neighbourhood Development Unit. There is also, though, Birmingham Community Matters. So I think this is one of the things I do need to stress, is that Birmingham Community Matters are out there. They're a third sector organisation, and they've linked in with a national organisation called Locality. And they are there to help support the Commonwealth Games at the moment and to try and get as many solid, really good quality bids through. So if anybody's got any ideas and they're a bit, I don't know if it fits the criteria, I would implore you all that you go to the Birmingham Community Matters website, and I'll put it in the chat link for you, and Kay will send out the details so we can get it properly out to all of you. So from that perspective, do think about that. But it's just a general open offer. If anyone's got any ideas, contact the NDSU. We're happy to talk with any groups. We have to be careful because at the end of the day, we are assessing them. We have to make certain that they're fitting the right criteria for the city, that they're value for money, that they are what they say they are, that the organisations are genuine. So we have to do a bit of that element. So, but we can still offer advice and support from that. And then if necessary, we can put them through to Birmingham Community Matters. So it's an open plea. If you've got any groups out there, we'd rather see too many bids coming at the moment than too little. So even if they sound a little bit out there, we're happy to talk to them and see if we can develop something.
Brilliant. Thanks, John. I'll be in touch. There's a couple of groups I think I'll get in touch with and just give them a nudge. But as I said, if I know people here are connected to more than one local group, so if you could spread the word, that'd be really helpful. I think it's useful now. We've seen the kind of bids that are out there and have been successful, so that should give people an idea of what sort of stuff they can work around. So thanks for that, John. Let's move on then. We've got the police. We have our new sergeant, Simon. I think you're on the line. Do you want to introduce yourself and then give us a couple of minutes and then perhaps take some questions, if that's all right?
Hi, good evening all. Yeah, thank you. My name's Simon Wheeler, and I have just come over to Weoley Castle, having come from the city centre of Birmingham, where I've initially worked as a PC on multiple of neighbourhood teams, and then as a sergeant, and now come over to Weoley Castle Ward as the new sergeant of the Weoley Castle neighbourhood policing team. So in a nutshell, that's me. Obviously 21 years experience, so it's not a new thing for me, so anybody that may have that fear, but yeah, I'm willing to take any questions from anyone, any concerns from anyone, whether that's on here now. If not, I can give you an email address if somebody wants to contact me direct. Feel free to, and if I can't address them now, I will come back to you with answers or an address of any issues or problems you may be suffering over the next coming few days. I'm currently on rest days, as you can see by my attire, but I'm back in work in the next couple of days.
Might be Simon, if you could just drop your email address in the chat, if you can do that from where you are, or drop it over to Kay via email, and then I'm sure she can do the same. That'd be helpful. Can I kick off if that's right, Simon? Just one question. Where are we at the moment in terms of police coverage? So how many police have we got in terms of community policing covering? Because you're out of Northfield, aren't you? So you're covering the Weoley Castle end of the ward rather than the Selly Oak end of the ward.
Okay, so we actually work out of Bourneville, so we're pretty much in the middle of where you say, and so Weoley Castle, obviously, from where we are, is literally over the road. And then, as it stands at the moment, I have a team of 1 sergeant. I'll just quickly do the math in my head for you. 6 PCs, as a new one starts this week, and 2 community support officers. So in terms of dedicated neighbourhood policing officers to the Weoley neighbourhood team, it is 1, 6 and 2. You do mention Northfield. Obviously we do cover, I know that our boundaries are slightly different from the new council boundaries, and half of Northfield High Street does come under my ward and obviously my jurisdiction, that being the Sainsbury's McDonald's side. So we cover down the Bristol Road there, turning right at the Sainsbury's. So part of whoever may live in that vicinity, they will fall upon myself. On the left hand side, that is Northfield itself.
Thanks, Simon. So I'll open up to comments. Obviously, this is a good opportunity now for any issues, local policing concerns, etc. people might have. Good chance now. You've got the police right in front of us. Martin, do you want to kick us off?
Question about e-scooters, which are a menace across the land, with people scooting everywhere except where they should legally do it. And of course, it's not as people who propose this envisage. They're putting their cars away and using scooters instead. Now, you can't solve it in Weoley Ward, but I just wondered whether the police might say, catch somebody, give them a police caution, and make a lot of publicity about it, just to get the message, because I think quite a lot of these people don't know what the legal limits are on e-scootering. And I've had a few near misses myself. That's by a scooter, not on a scooter.
Okay, so the problem obviously that we have in relation to e-scooters is it's initially a project that started in Birmingham city centre with a company called Voy, spelled VOI, and they do come as a legal based product. That being because they have an insurance based package with them. When you sign up with them, you put in your driving license, and that entitles you once you're paying to have, to ride that e-scooter, providing you are using it lawfully. The problem we have, obviously, in more residential areas, is you can happily go online yourself now, get yourself your credit card out and buy one for approximately £400. Doesn't make it lawful. Okay, unfortunately, the problem we have is that no insurance company will touch them. So they are technically an uninsured vehicle on a road. In terms of police powers, we have the power to seize those vehicles. Okay, so what I've done in the past in the city centre where we've had days is we've seized those vehicles. We've not always crushed them like you see on TV. But what we may have done is it's an educational based thing and told them, look, you can only use these on private roads, private land, etc., etc. And then given them back with parents, and that sort of thing. If you're telling me now that where you live, there is an issue with these, I can take that forward by all means. And something that I've done in the past could be brought across. But obviously, if that's what you're telling me now, if in your area, if you're suffering with those issues, then by all means, let me know that and we can take that forward.
Thanks. I think it'd be a good idea if you publicise the fact that you've seized bikes and crushed them, just to make people realise there are penalties.
Yeah, thanks.
Yes.
I I agree. I was just going to say that I think the problem with illegal e-scooters, to be honest, covers the whole of the city. I've seen them in pretty much every corner of the city that I've been over the last few months. So I think it's an area of concern right wherever you are. But I've certainly seen them in Weoley. Absolutely. Simon, do you want to come back on that?
Okay, so I'm just putting in the chat now my email address. So the gentleman that was just on prior to you, Councillor, feel free to email me. Email me where you actually live and reside. Do it direct, obviously, rather than being in an open forum here with your personal address, and I'll happily take that forward. Something obviously I can look at and I can take forward with my team. And things like that, it will appear on our Weoley Twitter from there, and hopefully from that the message will get out amongst these people that have them. You know, unfortunately, Christmas around the corner, it's an ideal present for a child, isn't it?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's more dangerous than being on the pavement and running people over, or then being in the road and getting run over themselves, quite honestly. Okay, I think Anne was next. Anne, do you want to come in?
Yeah, I'm not quite sure who covers it now, but parking, Weoley Park Road, we've obviously got the university school. And recently trying to get out of my road, I live on West Hill Close, which you have to go onto Weoley Park Road to get out. There were people parked all over the yellow lines. I couldn't actually see to get out. I had to get into the middle of the road to actually see what was coming, because people have parked on the double yellow lines around the edges of roads, you know. A lot of Weoley Park Road isn't double yellow lined, but, you know, there was somebody there parked today. And I think that was a teacher who'd actually parked on the double yellow lines by the bus stop. I don't know. I know you can't patrol schools and it's a nightmare with parents and whatever, but I just wondered if occasionally, or whether we can talk to the school. You know, they're not very, they may talk to the Bourneville side of the road, but they don't tend to talk to our side of the road. So getting into the school to say, look, would you do something to manage your parents? You know, but it's when you can't even get out your road safely, and you're thinking, I really can't see what you know, traffic coming. It's pretty horrendous when you've got to go places, and unfortunately you've got to go at school time. You know, so that's one of my issues.
No problem. I understand. I'm a parent myself, so I get it. So University Birmingham School, leave that with me as an action. Obviously, something we can do is contact the headmaster stroke headmistress for their relevant newsletters and mail merges that they do, you know, to have some consideration for residents. And if you're working locally, you know, have that consideration when parking. In terms of patrols in and around that area, yes, it's something my team would undertake and something we would do. It doesn't have to just be double yellows for them to be committing an offence. If they are causing an obstruction of the highway, then leave that with us. And it's something that I will forward on to my team this week. As I say, we're on earlies, you know, for the next few days. So in and around school time, that's something we will pick up. And I'm probably have the same theme from a few other people in and around that live close to schools, and I get it. I understand.
Yeah.
And it's something we will take forward. So if you're telling me that's an issue for you, Anne, and you live in that vicinity, then yeah, we'll take that forward. Okay.
Yeah, I live on West Hill Close. Thank you.
Yeah, it's definitely not just an issue for Anne. It's a cause of some frequent complaints on that particular part of the world. Definitely. Simon.
Yeah, I get it. Like as I say, leave that with me. Obviously, that school does fall just by us, so yeah, we will take that on, and I'll come back. And obviously, my email's in there, so give me a chance to get that in place. If obviously it persists, please feel free to email me. If you're passing and it creates you a severe issue, feel free to take a photo, send that to that email address that's in the thread, and I'll get back to you.
Okay, thank you.
Hand over to the other Simon.
Yeah, hi Simon. I live in Frederick Road. I walk around the retail park and a lot of I don't know how far you go down. Do you go down to Harbin Lane, or are you down to Bournebrook, the canal boundary? I don't know where your your patrols take you.
Okay. Sorry, just on that then, just coming there, Simon. So Weoley Ward will cut off and then it will become Selly Oak. So I know that this is classed as Selly Oak and Weoley Ward meeting. So anything that you disclose to me for Selly Oak, I can't potentially give you a direct answer as a yay or nay, 100%. What I can do is take it away, contact that other supervisor, and get him to contact you direct, or anything that's, you know, open, for instance, like and there with the school issue, by all means I can take that, email him direct on that, and highlight that as an issue.
Yeah, well,
just
basically it was on the e-scooters. There's lots of them in Selly Oak, not the orange ones which are licensed, and also parking in Frederick Road. It's the drop off, and they block the hammerheads at the top of Frederick Road, which is next to the Bear and Staff. And literally they just block it and double park in it. And it's been like that. I know it's only 10 minutes, but if an emergency vehicle needed to turn around, they wouldn't be able to in the road. Literally they park opposite each other all the way up the road for 10 minutes. And literally the road becomes a single track. I know it's been raised before, but if you could pass that on to the relevant team, that would be great. Thanks.
Simon, leave that one with me. In relation to obviously the Frederick Road and parking, I'll forward that direct to that supervisor that's allocated to that area in relation to your concerns there. Obviously, if it was an emergency vehicle getting through, they couldn't get through, so quite clearly it creates a massive obstruction, and one that shouldn't happen. The scooters, I know that they cover up to parts of Selly Oak. Obviously, they've probably done that way for a reason, for students, I would suggest. That map by Voy, just for your knowledge, everyone online, is due to extend to further parts of Birmingham. I'm not sure how far out it's coming, but that is on the Voy website. So anyone that wants to check that, feel free to. And as I say, it's Voy, spelled VOI. But the private ones, again, if that's an issue, I'll forward that on to the same supervisor, as well as 2 issues raised this evening for him. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Simon. One, if I'm not seeing any of your hands, there's one other issue for me, Simon, if I can, which is around, I did speak to your predecessor about this, was around problem drinking along the route of the old canal that runs behind the back of Alwold Road, between sort of Weoley Castle itself and then into the bottom of Selly Oak Park. I haven't seen it myself, but it's been reported to me by residents, and there's a significant evidence of problem drinking, just judging by the volume of White Lightning bottles that have been recently appeared down there. And I think people obviously feel quite intimidated by that. I was just wondering if you could ensure that that route is added to patrol list at some point in the evening, just to keep an eye on it, really. It's not to suggest there's criminal activity going on, but I think it's more about reassurance. And also if there are individuals with drinking problems, I'd rather we knew who they were and made contact with them.
Thank you, Councillor. Yeah, so the Canal Alwold Road, going towards Selly Oak Park. Yeah, no dramas. Again, leave that one with me. Obviously, it's something that we can encourage on our patrols. Are you telling me that the issue is generally afternoon, evening based then?
Yeah, it's evening. Yeah, early evening.
Okay.
Yeah.
So as I say, we come back on duties on earlies initially, and then when we go on to late, it's something that I will add on. I will be out and about myself, so it's something I will look at myself. In terms of actually dealing with it and problem drinkers, there are a number of ways that we can deal with those issues through community protection warnings and community protection notices. Obviously, littering in itself is its own offence under Environmental Acts. However, you know, if it's persistent drinking, we can deal with that issue. That's not a problem. Again, leave that with me. I can put some names to any people that are loitering in that area and creating that issue for anyone.
I suspect they probably moved on, because we used to have a bit of an issue in the Weoley Castle Square itself, and I think probably awareness and they've been engaged there, and I think perhaps they've just chosen to move off to a slightly more private location. Sorry, Simon, the other Simon Stafford, do you want to come in?
Yeah, just we've had the Travellers in Selly Oak, and now I understand that they've moved over to the Weoley ward to Shenley's Park. I'm not sure if everybody's aware of that one. It's been splashed up on social media. So just flagging that up to everybody if they don't know, and to be careful and don't take any workmen on if they turn up and want to do your drive or your garden.
Good point. Do you want to take that? I'll bring Anne as well, so perhaps we can double up, and then Simon, if you can come back. Anne.
I just wanted to ask, I know that when we were part of one big Selly Oak ward, we had the injunction which stopped them going into the parks, and they could be moved on within the hour by the police. Is that injunction still in place, or is it lapsed and whatever? Because obviously last year we didn't really need it, because if they came anywhere near Birmingham, it wasn't on social media. And I just wondered if that injunction has now lapsed for the parks.
Okay, so as far as I'm aware, best of my knowledge, we don't have an actual injunction. Somebody may come in from the council if it's been done privately through the council. Hopefully the councillor may take that. We obviously have our own police powers on them. The council themselves have certain powers, and then also with that, it will depend on what land that they get on. And once they're in that land, obviously they're in that land, and then we have to go through the relevant acts to remove them, depending on which land they're on. I know where Simon's just on about, they moved there the weekend. I think it was Friday evening, if I'm not mistaken. They moved to the old J Sainsbury's in Selly Oak, having moved from the Kings Norton area. So they were in the Kings Norton area. They were dealt with there and evicted from that land, at which they've unfortunately give us a little bit of a merry-go-round on that evening, and then eventually ended up in a very small convoy initially in the Sainsbury's vicinity, and that obviously through the evening and the early hours when I drove past personally was a larger settlement that had set up on that land there, which was obviously private land, and therefore it's dealt with slightly different because of it being private. If it's public land, then generally the council will get involved, unless it falls upon our powers, and then we as the police would get involved. But unless I'm mistaken, then I'm not too sure, I'm afraid. I can come back to you, Anne, by all means, in relation to an injunction.
Yeah, it was something that Karen McCarthy did an awful lot of fighting for a few years ago, because they were just, they literally go around the whole ward of Selly Oak and a few neighbouring wards and just, be moving on from park to park to park. And we'd go and, clean up, and then they'd be back again. So they got some form of injunction, but I don't think it was a permanent injunction against all the parks. And I thought I got in my head it was for about 2 years. Andrew Schofield might know more, that it was about for 2 years, which would take it to sort of now to be expiring. And I'm wondering whether the council would look to fight again to get it again.
Can I pick that up separately, Anne, if that's all right? Yeah. I don't know the answer, but I know someone who will know the answer, so I will go and take that away. I think you're right. I think the old one has lapsed. I'm not sure it ever covered the whole city. I think it did cover certain parts.
I think it was certain parks.
Yeah, I think the problem with all of these is it's really hard to get a blanket one, because you have to evidence a problem wherever you try and get an injunction. So where there was good evidence for a problem being caused, then you can get an injunction. But as I said, I think they've lapsed now, and we haven't had a problem for the last couple of years, because, as you rightly say, there just hasn't been travellers on the move. They haven't been an issue.
Yeah, but yeah, if you could look into it and come back, that'd be great. Thank you.
I'll take that away. Okay, so let's. Is there any more questions for Simon? Police Simon, that is. If you've got any questions for Simon Stafford, feel free, but I'm not sure he's going to be able to answer. Well, thank you, Simon, for coming. Hopefully, look forward to meeting you in person at some point as well, Simon, on the patch. I'll drop you an email at some point, and we perhaps meet up if that's all right with you.
Yeah, super stuff. Thank you, Councillor. As I say, any any other person that has any issues, doesn't want to come on and speak direct, I understand. Feel free, email is in the chat, drop me an email with any issues. I'll pick those up through the working week. I can directly contact you back and hopefully resolve any issues or problems you may have in your neighbourhood going forward. Thank you.
Oh, thank you for coming this evening. It's appreciated. Okay, so I think next item on the agenda is local issues. I'm going to merge the two items together and just do a quick councillor update first, and then we'll just put the other local issues into sort of any questions or whatever you want to do. Obviously, it's just myself. Julie's not available this evening, so I'm afraid you're stuck with my perspective on the world. A couple of things people might be interested in. I think there's probably quite a bit of awareness of what's happening. One of them will be around the Triangle site, the former Sainsbury's site in Selly Oak. People will be aware there is a the original application was refused by the planning committee at the council for various reasons, but largely on the basis of density and some design aspects as well. They have as we inevitably thought they would, those developers have appealed, and that appeal is due to be heard I think in early October, and I think there will be I think Julie is going to attend and speak on that item, and I think she's had support from various people locally providing information, etc., to support that process. Obviously, it's a quasi-judicial process, so the council's ability to influence that becomes quite limited. And to be perfectly honest, we don't have a great record when it comes to these appeals. Developers can afford very good lawyers, to put it mildly, and they can be quite difficult. It's not to say it never happens, and I think there are real reasons to be concerned about this development. As I say, not least because of the density of what is being proposed is an extraordinarily dense development for the sort of standards we'd normally expect. So we'll see what comes of that. As I said, I think it's probably a 50-50 kind of toss of a coin, and you never quite know with a judge how it's going to land. You never can be entirely sure how things are going to work. A couple of other things I will quickly mention while I'm here. One of them is we now have the mobile household recycling centres up and operating. They're operating out of Lifford. We have one I say one lorry, but it's not. It's several kind of different trucks put together that form a mobile household recycling centre. It's been twice, I think, now to the ward. We've sort of quite strong success, got a lot of engagement with residents. They love to see it, and it is proving popular, taking a significant amount of tonnage. So effectively, it's all the stuff you'd normally have to take down to Lifford yourself. The idea of these is to bring the recycling into the community so people can use it wherever they are. Lifford was the first one up and operating in the city. There will be 4 operating out of each. The one is like go live this week, and then the one covering the north of the city is going live in a little bit further down the line. But as I said, they've been very popular. Details will be advertised locally. We're trying our best as councillors to get them out. We didn't do a huge amount of publicity over the first one, just because it was the first one and we didn't want it to fall over because so many people turned up that it couldn't cope. So it went out on Twitter and Facebook, but we will get more publicity as they go on. They should, at the moment, it looks like they're going to be round every 6 weeks or so into the ward at different locations. It won't always be the same place. We had one, the most recent one was on Bryony Road, and the one before that I think was Weoley Park Road. So we are they will be in different locations, and if people have suggestions of locations they think would work, let me know and I will feed it into the depot, because I think they are keen to hear from residents as to where they like it. So a bit of an open invitation, and if you think in your neighbourhood we can find a safe site to put it. It doesn't have to be a massive site, they can basically pull up on the road. So as long as there is a space without loads of cars parked down it, they can make it work, and it'll be there for a few hours. So it starts in the early hours of the morning and then runs through into the afternoon. So that's I think a very welcome initiative. The other, just on fly tipping, the council have up until now, enforcement is the thing that residents ask more about anything else. It's like, we know there's fly tipping, there's always been fly tipping, but what are you going to do to catch the people who are doing it? So there's a couple of things that are changing. One of them is we're getting more CCTV. Obviously, it's not going to cover the whole city. It is going to be focused on sort of hotspots. And there has been money put aside to deliver some more CCTV. And the other one is on enforcement and changing the tactic on enforcement, which has up until now kind of been we have to have absolute rock solid evidence as to who it is who's doing that fly tipping. So effectively, that has to be several witnesses, CCTV, the whole works to make sure you can prosecute them. What we're going to do now is take a little bit more of a kind of we'll issue a PCN, some degree of credible suspicion of an individual did it. We will issue a PCN, which is your standard enforcement notice, and then it's obviously up to them. That individual can then pay that PCN, or they can go to court and try and fight it. The suspicion is, and if they go to court, obviously a judge may be kind of a bit iffy because we may not have the complete evidence base that we normally have. But the vast majority of people will just pay the PCN, which is very helpful because it effectively self-identifies, admission of guilt effectively. But the other thing, what it will allow us then, and obviously that allows us to track where these people are and who are doing it. But it will also hopefully act as a stronger deterrent, because we'll be issuing a lot of these PCNs, a lot more than we can do through the enforcement passage at the moment. So hopefully, fingers crossed, that'll make a bit of difference, and we should see an increase in fly tipping prosecutions. And the last thing I thought I'd mention, because I know it was of an interest to people in the ward, is the clean air zone that people will be aware is now up and operating in the city. And there has the early evidence coming back from it has indicated a substantial drop in pollution levels in the city centre, in those hotspot areas, as a result of the introduction of the clean air zone. So it does appear that it has achieved its primary objective in terms of reducing pollution levels. Whether obviously that needs to work for long term, this is only like the first couple of months of operating, so we need to give it time to sort of bed in. But that the initial results back do seem to be positive. And the other factor around that is it has obviously there has been a substantial revenue generated, and that revenue will go back into, as planned, public transport infrastructure measures, pedestrianisation measures, the kind of things we want to see. Most people, I think, want to see in the city centre in terms of making it much more kind of a livable environment to be in, and then improving public transport infrastructure in the city as a whole. So I think those are kind of the key things I'll mention at the moment. But obviously, local things, it tends to be pretty ad hoc at the moment. So it's just what's popping up in terms of little bits of antisocial behaviour, a couple of issues with quad bikes, although that's been a lot lower than in previous years, which is quite interesting. I don't know whether they've just all swapped to e-scooters, but we do seem to have had less of an issue with quad bikes and off-road bikes this year than we have had previously, and other stuff, but it tends to be quite localised in terms of antisocial behaviour. Again, fly tipping, speeding vehicles remains a consistent problem, which is always a challenge. But those are kind of the highlights, I think. So I'll open it out, and then if there's any questions or issues people want to raise now is a good opportunity to do so. I think it was Andrew up first.
Hi, thank you, Christian. I just wanted to say that on the Triangle appeal, so the whole residents on the Triangle site appeal, there is a local group, the Selly Oak Community Development Trust, is acting as what's called a Rule 6 party on that, which basically means they treat us more or less like a full party. Well, they treat us like a full party in the proceedings, so we get to present our own evidence, which we are doing. And also that the appeal opens on the 11th of October with an opportunity for members of the public to make their own comments. And that will be at the Bournemouth Pavilion, which is just on the edge of the university campus on the SOM Boulevard. And it starts at 9:45 on the 11th of October.
Brilliant. Andrew, will you drop me an email with that in it, and I will circulate?
Yeah, I will do, yeah.
Simon, I think you were next.
Yeah, more of a road safety issue. The set of lights at the top of Frederick Road, to crossing from the Bear and Staff to the shops. Yeah. There, you can press the button and wait and wait and wait. It's quite dangerous because people just get fed up and then just go across. And I've seen quite a few school children got to the point where they just thought it's not going to change and they've just gone. themselves. And the other issue was number 47 Frederick Road, which we spoke about previously. There are tenants in that property now.
Okay, so I'm just making a note. Thanks, Simon.
Okay.
Right, Steve. Oh, you're on mute, Steve. Can't hear you.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Thank you. I just wondered what the chances were of going back to Selly Oak Park again, which I thought was a great idea for the what they want to do. But the exit at the far end, the one they talked about, which is the Harborne Lane end, which is very, very popular to try and get across to walk to the hospital. To actually get across, there's no crossing, but there is a gap to walk around. Is there any way we could get a pelican crossing of some sort put there? It is extremely dangerous trying to get across there, because the way the new configuration of the road is, there are two lines of attack for cars coming down the hill from Selly Oak. And I just wonder if there's any way we could get some to look at that and see if it's possible.
I'll pick it up with the highways team. My initial thoughts are, I think the danger there is we don't particularly want to encourage people to use that walkway through the park. I think it goes back to what Andrew presented in the report. I think we would rather people use the lit route, especially at night time, use the lit route through the park and then went down Harborne Lane that way, and then use the pedestrian crossing further down Harborne Lane. But I'll pick it up with highways and see because obviously I'm not aware of any incidents that have happened, and obviously they won't issue extra funding. We have a very, very small pot of money for local highways works, but it certainly wouldn't cover a full pelican crossing. It more pays for one of those traffic refuge things that you can cross across. But Andrew, I don't know if you've got a different view on that, but I can certainly pick it up with highways.
Okay, many thanks.
There is a crossing further down, but I appreciate it's 100 yards walk down and then 100 yards walk back. I think if you're headed towards, say, the shopping park, you're best off going out the park by Gibbons Road, by the Scout Hut, and crossing over the pedestrian crossing there. If you're headed towards the hospital, you might want to go the other way, but then walk down the hill and cross at the crossing that's 100 yards further down. There's not much need to go straight across, because where you headed to from either place, when you go straight across there, you're not really headed anywhere in particular. So, but that would be my thought, is that you're best off splitting either way depending on where you want to go.
If I can just say, the other day I was on my bike and I'd cycled through the park, and there was myself, my wife on her bike, and there were 3 nurses who were trying to go across to go to work, to go to the hospital. And it was a bit of a lottery trying to get both ways coming down to be actually clear. I appreciate what you say, but I know, okay, if you just have a look at it, I'd appreciate it anyway.
Yeah. Well, I know it well, and it isn't great, but actually, the quickest route from the hospital to the park is actually to come down Vincent Drive and then along Harborne Lane and up that way, and then you come to the crossing. So yeah, it's just a question of choosing your route, basically.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks, Steve. Martin, did you have your hand up earlier? I thought I saw indication.
Yes, it was just a short one as to whether we're paying as council taxpayers for the digging up what looks like perfectly good tram lines in Corporation Street. The notice by the builder says it's to do with the Digbeth link, but it's not, because they're simply laying 2 tracks, and clearly the contractor did a rubbish job. You don't take tram lines up 5 years after they've been put in, and I wondered if that was being taken up.
I think I will check, Martin, and I've got your email. I'll drop you an email, but I think it's a matter within the purview of the combined authority rather than BCC.
Yeah.
But I can't say too much, but your interpretation of what the causes of it are not entirely a million miles off, as I understand it. But as I say, hopefully, fingers crossed, it will be resolved now. I would say, I think if anyone's into engineering, I think the problem or the solution they have come up with in terms of laying the track very quickly, I have to say, I'm very impressed by it. Let's put it that way. I don't know if anyone's seen it, but they effectively off-site mould concrete blocks with the tracks built into them, and then then they put them in where they should be, and then weld them together. And it's been, to be fair, I don't think anyone wanted to do it, but what the solution they've come up with, I have to say, has been incredibly quick, and is hopefully something that will be able to be replicated elsewhere. But I will check on the exact details of who's picking up the bill for it at this point. Okay. Oh, there's a few more hands. Anne, I think probably.
Yeah, it's just a quick thing. There's a issue at Edgbaston Park Road, and I know it's not in our ward, but it's on the traffic lights at Edgbaston Park Road, where you're coming out to come and you want to turn right to go up to Selly Oak. The lights for the traffic held on the Bristol Road change for a pedestrian crossing, and the number of times I've nearly been hit as I come out from the University of Birmingham Sports Centre by cars thinking they can now go, and I've seen it, you know, people doing it so frequently that somebody needs to look at that traffic light signalling to say that one shouldn't be visible when you're parked further down, actually held at the Bristol lights. But I don't know who to report it to, so I just need to know, because I know it's not your ward, it's, you know, Edgbaston.
I'll check who it is, and let you know, or I'll just report it in myself and see, and let you know where we're getting to with it. I never quite know whether, but the boundaries are all mixed. It may be Harborne, it might be Edgbaston. I'm not, probably Edgbaston. I think probably. I'm not sure. It all gets mixed up around there. Helen.
Yeah, I just wondered if you might know whether there are any plans about when Selly Oak Library in Touch Sense building will reopen.
I haven't heard, but I will endeavour to find out for you. I'll get in touch with you are right, it has been shut for, well, obviously for a very long time. I will check in. I know who to ask, so I'll check in on that one and find out for you. If you have you got my email address? If you just drop me an email, so I'm not sure whether I've got yours or not, but if you want to drop me a quick email address, I'll put my email in the chat. Drop me an email and I will endeavour to find out and get you an answer, Helen.
Thanks.
Simon, is that?
Yeah, it's just a bit of a joke. It's called Hornby, what you're referring to.
Pretty much it. Yeah.
And if they got it right the first time, they wouldn't be doing it again, would they?
I entirely agree. I think it's well, I don't want to say anymore because it's a massive. These things are complicated and will no doubt end up in the hands of some lawyers somewhere, I'm sure. Okay, I'm not seeing any other hands. Thank you everyone so much for coming tonight. I think we have reached the end of the agenda. Hopefully we'll get to see you all again soon, in the not too distant future. We'll sort out another meeting coming down the track as well. Obviously the guidance at the moment is still to do these meetings remotely. So I think if we'll get another one in before in this side of Christmas, in the autumn, and I'm sure it'll probably again be a remote one, although personally I would like to get them back to normal if we can within a safe environment, but obviously I think we have to do as we're told for the moment. Kay, I haven't missed anything off the agenda, have I? I think there's nothing else we need to cover off.
No, you've covered everything, thanks.
Brilliant. All right, well, thank you everyone, and I shall look forward to seeing you soon, and enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. Good night.
Thanks everyone.
Thanks. Bye-bye.